Hello and welcome back to OC Aviary. Now this is episode 10 of Breeding British Birds. In today's episode we've got all sorts happening in the bird room. We've got young birds just emerging from the shells, as some being the second round, some being the first. We've got exciting hybrid news. We've got young birds actually making it to the sticks, and even some of them actually being weaned now. We'll also take a visit to some of the older young birds from some of the first rounds, which are in the flights, so we're going to visit them. And of course, as standard with the native birds, we've got the heartache, so we'll be talking about that and how we're going to combat those issues. And just before we get into this video, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everyone who's subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe down below. We've just hit 4,000 subscribers. I'm really pleased with that, and massive thank you to everyone who's subscribed and watches my videos. I'd also like to say a huge thank you for the response I've had on my video with my new flights, which were released last week. That has done amazing, and currently when I'm filming this clip, we've just hit 16,000 views on that video, which is amazing, better than I could have ever asked for. So thank you everyone who's watched that video. Thank you for all the support, and thank you for subscribing. If you haven't already, subscribe down below, and let's get into this video. So beginning with a catch up with the Canaries, it's been an interesting week to say the least with them. We've got some exciting news with them because we've got more pairs going down, but we've also got some less exciting news with them, so we're going to look at that now. So we'll start on the right and make our way left. So we're going to come to the first pair. Now this is a fawn new colour cross hen. She's in on her own. She was with a Goldfinch. Now the eggs which hatched last week, sadly the Goldfinch mule was dead in shell, but we did foster some 5 eggs under her as well at the same time. Now, an update on the little 5s. Those 4 are doing great. We've got, well, one definite hen, because there's a red-eyed in there, which is a cinnamon from the father. There are 2 clears by the look of it, and a ticked bird, which has got a bit of variegation, a bit of darker markings on the wing. They're doing well. I rung them several days ago, and now about 8 days old. They're doing fantastic. The mother's doing a perfect job, and it couldn't be going any better with those guys. So in cage 39 we have this pair of 5s. We have a buff hen, a buff clear hen to a yellow ticked cock. Now sadly they have had clear rounds, but they've been the perfect feeder birds. They did a great job on the first round with a normal greenfinch and a pied greenfinch chick, so we've given them the opportunity for some Redpoll eggs. Now we're going to have a little update on these guys later on when we visit the Redpolls, but overall this pair are doing really well. Once again, another pair we'll visit a little bit more later on. This is a pair of 5s. We have a yellow ticked hen to a buff clear cock, and as you can see, that's a nice little Siberian bullfinch chick there, which we'll visit in the bullfinch update later on. But this pair are doing great once again, and I think they'll be about ready to go on their 3rd round. Last week we saw the yellow dimorphics with their 2nd round chicks. They had 3, they got 2 hens and a cock by the look of it. Those youngsters have now been moved and they are weaned. They are in a separate cage away from the parents, feeding themselves no problem. And the hen has gone back down on a 3rd round on 5 eggs, which is a great little sign. Just in there are actually 5 eggs. Now, what I must say is that they aren't her own eggs, however. They are some eggs that she's going to be feeding. She's proved to herself now, well, proved to me now, as a mother, she's a really good bird. So let's take advantage of that and actually use her as a feed of some more natives, which we'll visit later on. So to our pair of yellow satinettes. These guys are once again on another clutch. Now this is going to be their 2nd clutch. We had the first round from those guys which were infertile, so we decided that they would be best used as feeders, in which they fed 5 pied greenfinch chicks to a brilliant standard. I'm very pleased with. So as you can see, the hen is in there. She's on some eggs. They aren't her eggs. There's some other eggs that we might have spoke about last week, and if not, we'll speak about this week what's actually underneath her and what she's doing for her 2nd round. Now, just to cover quickly the two pairs of Norwich we've got, well, one's actually a mule pair, but the other is now converted into a mule pair as well. So we're going to cover those at the end of this episode in the mules and hybrids section. But overall, generally good update on them. However, I must report that the Norwich hen, who was in the top cage, sadly her eggs were clear for the second round. So that is the reason for the change, but we'll look at that a little bit more in detail later on. So now we're going to take a look at the Redpolls. One of the favourite birds that I keep are these guys. Now this season we've got 8 pairs. We did have 10, we've had a few move abouts, so we've got actually 8 or 9 pairs, but we're going to cover that now and why there's a little bit of uncertainty there, and actually how they're getting on, because we've got new arrivals, we've got youngsters in the nest that have now fledged, and young birds being ringed. So in 2 days time, this pair, their eggs are due. Now this is a normal cockbird on the left who is split for the mutation Feo, to a normal hen who you can see in the nest pan just to the right of centre, and she has a potential to be split Feo. She's the bird which out of all the birds that I've got, other than this one, knowing that he's split Feo, I'm fairly convinced this bird could be and is the most likely bird to be split for Feo, just because of the breeder it's from and actually the age of the bird. The bird is 3 years old, so I'm kind of hoping that this bird might be split Feo as well, and if it is, then that would be nice if we could potentially get some visual Feos. But this pair, their eggs are due in about 2 or 3 days time, so next week you'll be able to see how those guys got on, and let's hope it's a success story. This is our pair of cinnamons. Now we've got the cinnamon cock to a cinnamon hen, so we're literally just producing visual cinnamons here, cocks and hens. The cock isn't split for anything, and obviously neither is the hen. So this pair are on their 3rd round now. We know the first round was a failure, the hen failed to feed. The second round, the hen also failed to feed, but thankfully we had another pair of Redpolls available to step in at a moment's notice and feed them chicks, which we're going to visit shortly and have a look how they're doing. But this pair, they're on their 3rd round now. I don't have any confidence in her for feeding either, so what I've done is left her on some eggs just for the moment, so that she's not doing anything, and it gives her a bit of a rest from having to lay more eggs. And then as soon as those chicks hatch, or just a few days before those chicks hatch, which I must stress to you is very, very soon, we're going to move them pairs, those eggs, those chicks, under a pair I'm now going to show you. In this double breeder, we've got our Agate pastel cockbird to a cinnamon hen. Now, this pair we know over the past few months, since we originally paired them up, have had 3 rounds of clear eggs. The cockbird just hasn't been filling them. This is his final chance. I'm going to see if he fills them this round, because what I've done and changed is fertility vitamins, conditioning vitamins, even more of them, and actually put him in a flight for about 2 weeks, and just to try and get him even fitter. And I'm sort of hoping that might have brought him on. If those eggs are full, great. That means we'll finally get some youngsters from them. But if not, this is the pair which I'm planning on having step in and take the cinnamons off the, the eggs or the chicks off the straight cinnamon pair we just looked at previously. Because I think this hen is really now, she's going to have to feed something soon or she may lose interest. And also we don't want to tire her out. So what I'm thinking is keep her off the egg production. We'll get some chicks under her, let her rear them, and maybe that'll drive the cockbird. Maybe that'll get him to fill those eggs for what will probably be the last round of the season off these guys. But we'll have a look, and hopefully this pair is going to be the pair that takes the chicks and takes care of some more cinnamons for us. So last week I told you about this pair having, once again, the cockbird being removed and the hen failing to sit. Now what I've done is we removed those eggs, and we're going to look shortly because those eggs under some feeders have hatched. So we'll just have a quick look at those in a second. But this pair are now rebuilding. I believe she's on a third egg today, and the plan for these guys is I'm going to get the hen sat on her own eggs. Hopefully she sits for a few days, and once I'm confident that she's sat all right, we're going to divide that cockbird off, take him out, put him elsewhere, and I'm hoping that without a cockbird trying to drive her to nest again, it's going to keep her on that nest, and maybe she'll have her own young. If not, we could try putting some, maybe even chicks underneath her, because then we can remove the cockbird and she'll have something to do, you know, a bit of a responsibility to feed those chicks, and maybe that'll work, but I'm not sure. And the chicks from that pair, they had 4 eggs which went underneath this pair of feeders, fifes, and as you can see, there's 4 chicks there. Now, not too sure on colours actually. There is definitely one in there that's a bit of a darker eye, but I believe it might be 3 Isabel hens and a cinnamon cock, just because of how much bred Isabel cock, cinnamon hen. But I'm not 100% sure, so we'll see how those eyes come out over the next few days. I'm kind of hoping that there'll be some Isabels in there as well. It looks like it, but I'm not holding my breath on it, so we'll have a catch up with them next week where we'll have a bit more of an idea. Last week we saw the addition of some more Redpolls in the bird room, and they were underneath this Cobalt hen. You may recall that we had the Cobalt hen in with a normal pied cockbird. They had several eggs underneath them. They also had some Agate, normal split Agate, split cinnamon, split pastel, split Isabel cockbird to an Agate hen. They had some eggs under them as well. So she was fostering some eggs as well. Now, some of her own eggs hatched, which were little Cobalts. We had some from the Agate pair and some from the Cobalt to cinnamon pair. I believe I showed that in last week's video because the hen failed to feed, which was a younger hen. Well, sadly we did lose those from the younger hen because she failed to feed in the first day or so. The chicks were quite weak, and even after a top up, sadly she just couldn't bring them back round and we lost them. Then we lost one of the young little Agates, but now we've got a nest which I'm quite confident in. You know, never count your chickens before they're on the sticks, really. You know, let's not count them yet, but we've got 3 chicks in there. We've got 2 which are from her directly to the pied cockbird, so they are Cobalts by the look of it, and we also have a little Agate in there, which is nice. So we'll see how they're doing next week. I've rung them several days ago, so let's hope we get some nice results from them. Then to our pair, which were basically the pioneers of this season for the Redpolls. These guys had the first Redpoll chicks hatch, and we discovered that the cockbird was split for a mutation, which I wasn't currently aware of, which I can now confirm. The chick that looked Isabel on the sort of top half and cinnamon on the bottom half is actually a brown pastel. I've not had brown pastels before, so I'm really surprised and very pleased to have that mutation come out. So we'll have a look at those youngsters a little after we've looked at the rest of the pairs, but those guys are now weaned, so this pair are now going on to their next clutch. Now what they have done was, whilst the chicks were still in, they've pretty much rebuilt the nest slightly, laid a clutch of 6, and then that clutch was then never sat because the chicks were still disturbing the hen. So what I've done is taken those eggs and put them under the yellow dimorphic Canary hen. So she's going to be fostering out some eggs from this pair, and then I've let the hen now, since the youngsters have been removed, let her rebuild. She's almost completely rebuilt, and I'm kind of hoping that that will be then the addition of some more of this pair's lovely little youngsters. This is the pair that fostered us the cinnamon chicks off the cinnamon pair. You can see we've got the Agate hen just down here, and we've got the cockbird, the father, here. Now those 3 chicks, we've got 2 there and 1 here. They have completely fledged now. They've left the nest properly. Obviously you can see there's a chick actually sat on the nest, but he's just sat there. they began feeding themselves, but no real proper attempt. So I'm not, yeah, they're not going to be just yet that they actually leave the nest. As you can see, the father is just feeding those guys now. But they're doing well, happy and healthy enough. So we'll see those guys next week, and by then I'm hoping they'll be weaned. So then we've got our Cobalt split Isabel cock to the Cobalt hen. This pair, the idea was having these, we could basically make some double factored Cobalts that we could then use for sort of hybrids or mule attempts, where it would definitely give us, you know, because it's a double factor, it would guarantee us Cobalt, mules or hybrids, and any young bred from them would have to be Cobalt / some variation of Cobalt, whether that be cinnamon Cobalt or anything. Anyway, this pair have had a real selection of nest sites now, with no interest in breeding. You know, she's been making nests, but she's never laid. She's failed to lay. I bred the hen 2 years ago, and now after that, she's just decided that she's going to molt. I have got no clue why, because one, the cage is not dark at all. Two, she's been on all the vitamins and everything that she needs. And also, I think that it's not really the case of diet or anything like that. It's more just her as an individual. Because the cockbird that's in with her is fit as a fiddle. He is bouncing, he's squealing, obviously not on camera, he'll never do that for me on camera when I actually want to show you guys, but he's in top condition, so I can't understand exactly why. I believe she's gone to molt, she's looking pretty scraggy, so I've just got the molt guys on some multivitamins. I'll probably move the hen elsewhere, leave her to molt out, maybe I'll put her with some young birds just to leave her to it, because that's the end of the season for her. She's, you know, you don't get a bird to come back from the molt and breed for you in that short space of time. So probably use the Cobalt, maybe float him over something else, but the hen's definitely out of action for this season now. So then I just want to quickly show you this pair. This is the pair that had the youngsters in the nest up there, but sadly didn't actually feed them, so we did lose them, even though we fostered them and they were just too far gone. Well, the hen, she's down there, she's a cinnamon split for brown pastel, and I've actually changed the cockbird. The cockbird which she was with was the Cobalt, which is there. She's now with a normal. The normal is actually the normal pied bird we had with the Jack Lloyd hen before losing that hen. He has the white flight on one side and sort of a white tail as well. If I can just capture that for you. You can see a little bit of the white coming through on the wing bar, and a little bit on the tail, but I just want to try and get some youngsters off this cockbird, just because I'd like to run in with a daughter to see if we've got maybe a variation of pied or whatever we've got, so maybe we could cement that as a new mutation, or if it is, or if it's just a random abnormality and maybe molts out. But so I've put him in there with this hen. She has rebuilt pretty much, just yet to lay. So we'll see how they're doing next week. So this is just going to be a quick little visit to the youngsters that are weaned off from the good pair, which first of the season. So we've got a little normal bird here. It's a little bit of a weird colour. We've got a brown pastel. There are 3 Cobalts, and then you can see there's 3 yellow dimorphic Canaries in there. Now, the young Cobalt actually just down here somehow managed to break its leg before I weaned it. As you can see, it's dangling. I have had a bit of a splint and a plaster on that just to try and keep it still, but it just kept tearing it off. So I'm a bit unsure what to do. I'm not sure how it broke its leg. To be honest, I mean, the cage wires are fine, so it's not trapped it anywhere, I don't think. But anyway, it's happened now. We're just got to kind of deal with it. It doesn't happen very often anyway. But I'm just going to have to leave that youngster to sort of heal its leg. I can just feel where it's broke is basically on the knee, on the joint. So it's a little bit of a tough one, but it is what it is, and we'll just have to deal with that as it comes. And it's getting around fine, it's eating fine, it's drinking fine. So it's not affecting it too much, and it's getting around all right. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. But overall, the leg starts blooding it, so it will repair. Whether it repairs properly or not is a different matter. But this is the young birds. They're doing well. They're all feeding themselves now. So We'll probably give them a few more days in here, and then they will get promoted to a nice outdoor flight where they can spend the rest of their young life, and we'll get them molted out in there. Now, so far this season, with the Greenfinches, I've had my fair share of ups and downs with them. We've had one pair, which is the best pair of normals. They've been doing quite well so far, and we're going to look at those just shortly. And then we've had the Pieds. They've been a bit up and down. We've got some youngsters from them, but they haven't reared them themselves. They've been fostering. So we're going to have a quick update, and we're going to look at the Greenfinches, and we're going to see how they're getting on. So we're going to come to the normal pair first, which are out in the flights. This week, or should I say today and yesterday, they welcomed their second round of youngsters. We've got 4 youngsters in the nest and 1 egg left to hatch of a clutch of 5. There was originally 6, one of the eggs was clear. So they're getting on well. Obviously the chicks are just a day, 2 days old maybe. So they're still really small, you know, you can't count them yet. And you know, they're not even rung. So we're going to have to give them a few days yet before we you know, even look to ring them. But by next week, hopefully they should be rung, and we can have a good update on them, and we can have a look at them, because we'll have feathers start to come through. So that's our pair of normals. They're doing brilliant, and I'm really pleased to report that that's their second round. So now let's move on to the pied pairs and see how they're doing. So we come to our first pair of pied greenfinches, and we've got the pied cockbird, who is split Agate to a normal hen. Now, sadly, this pair, I think the cockbird is a little bit of an issue, and I think he likes to make scrambled egg. This is the second time he's done it now, and he smashed 2 of the eggs which were in this nest, which is really annoying, because we've not bred any off this pair yet. However, 3 eggs were still viable, and you know, they were full. So I took the 3 eggs, which were all right, and I put them under a Satinette Canary hen to feed, because we haven't got any youngsters off these guys, and I would really like some off them, which would be nice. Well, after doing that, the Satinette sat on them, the 3 are full. I put a few more eggs underneath there just to see if anything else is full, including some of our own, but we'll have to see. But if not, then this pair are actually going back down. But they're not going back down in that nest pan. You might be able to see just above, actually, where the cover is. The hen has designed her own little freestanding nest. You know, this is not a great view of it, but it's built in there. The hen enters it just from the right-hand side. Just, if I can just get this right, about there. She enters it from there and goes round into the nest, which is there. So, a bit of a freestanding nest for these guys, which is interesting, but we'll see how they get on, and it might be a bit more comfortable for the hen. She prefers it. But yeah, so I'm going to take the cockbird out once I know there's some eggs in there and she's sat. But hopefully we'll get some youngsters off these guys, and, well, fingers crossed. And then on to our second pair of pied greenfinches. We've got the more lightly pied cockbird in here. He's just more pied around the face, and that's it, to a normal hen. Now, these normal hens, obviously both pairs are decent hens. The cockbirds aren't there, but what I am doing is just building it up, really. And I just wanted to actually sort of bring my own line of pieds in, and I think that the experience will do me good, and we'll go from there. But anyway, this hen, she's on, I believe, 5 eggs. All 5 are full, so what I'm probably going to do is remove the cockbird soon, now that there's a full clutch in there, just because I don't want him messing up with any of this if he throws youngsters like he did last time or what. But we have got some youngsters off these guys. We've got 6 which were reared by Canaries, so we'll see how they get on, but I will probably be removing that cockbird. We'll get him out into one of the flights and get him doing his job, maybe elsewhere with a different hen, but we'll have to see. But either way, it's another clutch with these guys. I'm pleased to report, and we'll catch up with these next week and see how they're getting on, and let's hope that they are properly full, and they'll be due probably next weekend. So now we're going to have a look at the Siberian bullfinches and the Siberian goldfinches. How are they getting on? Well, they've really tested my patience this year, both the bullfinches and the goldfinches. So Thankfully, I'm pleased to report that the bullfinches are back down on 3 eggs now. I told you last week they laid 2 eggs that were duds, just random, not laid in a nest, just literally laid on a platform. I put the eggs under a canary, but sadly I think because she wasn't planning on having another round, they weren't full. But never mind, you know, we can use it for something else. So they're back down on 3 now, which is good. They've got a fully built nest and she's been sat comfortably for about 3 days. So that's the bullfinches getting on well, and I'm just hoping that this round will work. They'll rear and feed the young birds, and you know, a bit better than last time. But thankfully, like I have got to report, which we talked about a little bit earlier on the Canary update, is that the bullfinches have got 1 chick off these guys. It's being fed by a pair of feeders, and that has fledged the nest this week. So that little one's getting on well. Obviously, a great job by the canaries. Some people say canaries won't rear bullfinches and swear by it. Mine just halves, and obviously this was a Siberian bully as well, so it's a much bigger variety of bullfinch compared to a native, and they've done an awful good job of that. So pleased to report that. So just remember, if you are breeding bullfinches and it's either you lose a young bird or it goes under a canary, try it under a canary if you can. That's what I did, and it worked for me, and last year I tried it under a greenfinch and it works. Not to say they'll do it all the time, but it worked for me this year. Obviously the cockbird is split pastel as well, so I'm kind of hoping we might get some pastel hens in that nest, but we'll have a look. Let's just hope we get some youngsters out of them first, no matter what colour they are. Now the goldfinches. Last week we spoke about the goldfinches in that we had some chicks hatch. Finally, we had 9 eggs between 2 hens, and we don't have any youngsters now. The Agate hen, she had the 2 chicks that we looked at last week, or 1 or 2 chicks. She had 2 and she failed to feed them. Now this bird is, I believe, 6 years old. She's a 2015, or she could be a 2014 bird. Sadly she didn't feed. One of the youngsters then had black spots, she didn't feed, and obviously my egg food is medicated, so it gets in them as well. One of the youngsters died, which was unfortunate, so I took the other youngster, popped it under a canary, but sadly it was just a bit too weak to do anything. I did top it up with hand rearing formula, and sadly I couldn't bring it round, so we have lost those birds, but it happens. We just got to sort of deal with that. But then the other hen, I think she lost interest, and sadly she come off the nest, I think, in an evening. I found the eggs the following morning, stone cold. Tried warming them up, but they're pretty much gone at that point. You know, there's not much hope left to save them. But you know, stuff happens with the native birds, and they're not easy, and that's why a lot of people don't keep them, because they're not easy. But I enjoy the challenge. We'll stick at it. Both hens are rebuilding, so I'm kind of thinking now we'll try and get maybe a pair or 2 of feeder canaries synchronised with them, and we'll just get the goldfinch eggs a full clutch, hopefully, straight under a canary, and I just hope the canary will rear them. Obviously, with them all hatching at the same time, being the same sort of size, they might do it. And if not, maybe we throw them about. We maybe put 2 or 3 under a Siskin, under a Redpoll, and we see if we get some that way. But we'll have to see what happens. But either way, bit of good news, bit of bad news with these guys this week, but hopefully a bit better next week. So this week is probably the first week which I've not got a lot to report on the Siskins. Getting on quite well and doing all right, you know. We've got 1 hen now. She's out in the flights. I've separated the cockbird from her because cockbirds can be issues with the hens. They can take the hen off the nest and lead her to try and get another nest. They can destroy the eggs and they can kill the chicks. So we're not leaving the cockbird in there. So I've removed the Siskin cock from the hen in there. She's on 5 eggs, all of which are full, which is great. So this is a pair I bred last year, so I'm sort of hoping that with the experience of that hen, she is going to rear us some more young Siskins, and we will get something out of them this year. The same can't be said for the other pair, however, it's a move in the right direction. The pair that had the eggs, which were due a few weeks ago, I said I was going to post on my Instagram when they hatched. And sadly that post never came because those eggs didn't hatch really. I mean, one of them did, but it didn't last long, sadly. I found it when it was too late. But the Siskins are rebuilding the other pair, which is in the smaller flight. They're getting on all right. You know, the cockbird introduced, they're mating and what, but she's rebuilt, but she's just a bit, I think she's been a bit lazy, so she's not completely got there yet. So I might change something. I might add an extra nest pan if nothing comes in the next few days of it, and we'll go from there. But either way, all right with the Siskins. You know, I would like a few for next year. I might not be keeping the Siskins on, but you know, whether that be for mules or hybrids. I mean, to be fair, I would like to try Siskin bully next year, if I can get hold of a native bully hen. So if anyone breeds native bullies watching this in the UK, just drop me a message on social media or drop me an email. The email is in the about section of my channel or in the description below. If you breed native bullfinches, I'll be interested in a hen or two, or maybe, you know, maybe even a pair we get. And I'd just like to try Siskin bully and just be part of the effort to try and produce that. But anyway, that's the Siskins, and I just hope we might be able to get something out of them this year to give us some more birds to work with. So now it's time we do a quick update on the mule and hybrid pairs. So in this shed, we've got 2 mule pairs now. They're Norwich hens, 2 Goldfinch cocks. So we have the pair which we had last week. Sadly, their eggs were clear, so I did have to remove them. But overall, you know, they're doing all right. I've took the nest out and just want to give the hen a little bit of a break before I put it back in so she can go another round and hopefully they're full. And then also we have made a new Goldfinch mule pair up, which we'll look at now. So this is the first pair of Goldfinch mules we've got. We've got the lovely native Goldfinch cock with our yellow Norwich hen. I've removed the nest site now. It's here just on the outside where the hen can see it because the eggs were clear, which is a shame. I was hoping that we might be able to get something, but the pair are looking promising. I saw the hen wanting to be fed by the cockbird, so I'm kind of hoping that might be a bit of a turning point, and hopefully that might mean some young Goldfinch mules from this pair, maybe. So I'm going to give this hen a few more days before I reintroduce the nest site. And I'm sort of hoping that that little break, and I'll give her some calcium supplements, may bring her on into you know, condition again to just bring us some more eggs, and that would be nice if we could get some. And then we'll come to this pair. Now this is the pair that have been newly introduced just this week, and I just thought we'll give it a try. Nothing to lose from it, and we'll go from there. So we've got a Goldfinch cock in here with a buff tick Norwich hen. Sadly, the Norwich hen did have clear eggs with the Norwich cock, and this is their second round, and I've even seen the cockbird squatting for the cockbird threading her, and still have failed to have full eggs. I don't know if the cockbird's not fit enough, so he's out in a flight, which we'll visit shortly, but I did want to, you know, not waste this hen for the season. So I thought, well, the opportunities are we could do some half Norwich, we could do some Norwich crosses for maybe feeders in the future, or we could try for some mules. And with a spare Goldfinch cock that, you know, isn't doing anything at the moment, I just couldn't resist the opportunity to try another pair of Goldfinch mules. And obviously doing it with a Norwich, we'll get some show quality mules as well, is the idea. So we'll see how this pair get on. I'll be reintroducing the nest site shortly, but I just wanted to give the hen a bit of a break and get her, you know, out with the cockbird rather than sat doing nothing at all, just in the nest, which won't have any full eggs in. So we'll see how these guys are getting on next week, and I will be introducing the nest sites for both pairs, so that would be nice, and I'm sort of hoping by then we might have a bit more excitement. Last week we also saw the introduction, or the first egg, from the Greenfinch hen with the crossbill cock. Now, the hen then decided after the first egg it was no use sitting on that or doing anything with it. She didn't even bother to sit on that egg. She left the nest and subsequently dragged it and broke the egg, which was a shame because I did think, well, I could foster this. But anyway, that happens with birds, so just got to get on with it. But I decided after that, it's been a bit of a short spell. You know, the pair have been together for about a month or so, and the hen's just not been interested, so we clearly need a change. I was going to change the actual nest site, so I thought, well, let's do something a bit different. So that's why we're in front of the flights. I've put the crossbill greenfinch pair in this end flight now. This is where the crossbills were previously. We had the trio in there. And I decided, well, you know, they aren't breeding and they're probably not going to breed now until next year. So I swapped them round. So I got the greenfinch crossbill hybrid pair, put them in here and put the crossbills out of there into a 4-foot breeder. And we'll see how they get on. I did leave nest sites up in there just for the crossbills to chew at, and if they really did want to go down in the cage, there's the opportunity for them, but I'd be surprised. But anyway, it comes to this pair. Talk about this pair. They've been in here now 4 days since I put them in there. I left one of the nest sites in which the crossbills had in, and I put in the other nest site which she laid the egg in, and I cleaned it out and put it in there. Well, 4 days later, we've got a fully built nest. No first egg yet, but I don't think it'll be long. They're getting on well, to be honest. They sleep together at night as well, which is a good sign, because I think if they didn't like each other, then you'd have one here and one at the far end, and this is an 8-foot flight, so plenty of room for them to get away from each other as well, and plenty of room to keep them fit. But, well, it seems to have done the trick in terms of getting it to go down, so a nest's there now. We'll have a look at that next week. I'll keep you updated on my Instagram and see how this pair is doing. If you don't follow us on Instagram already, it's at OC_Aviary, and you can find all me on there and all the updates on the birds and a few little behind the scenes things which you won't usually see in a video. But anyway, these guys are now finally looking promising, and we'll catch up with them next week, and let's hope we've got some good news. So now this is the pair of hybrids, the miniature pair of hybrids that have produced for us recently. Sadly, after announcing losing the young, I believe last week or the week prior because of fireworks, we've got good news. The hen has gone back down. She's in this nest here. She's rebuilt, and she is on 4 eggs. I've removed the eggs obviously each day as the Siskin, I didn't want him to break them. We've now put in a wire divider. That's going to keep the pairs separate. Sorry, the cock and the hen separate, so the hen can still be bonded with the cock can still feed her through the bars and so forth. Boy, he's not going to destroy the eggs or kill the chicks. So I'll probably leave them like this now for, you know, a few more days. Maybe we remove him, put him elsewhere, just to give the hen a bit of a larger run. But those 4 eggs underneath, I'm really hoping they're full, considering they were last time. I mean, the fact that we got some little Cobalt Siskin Redpoll hybrids was lovely, and they really look nice birds, and I'm just hoping that we can get some more out to enjoy. So we'll see how they're getting on next week. We'll be candling the eggs next week as well, so just got to hope and pray that they are full. I have seen the cockbird, you know, threading the hen, so let's just hope for the best, and I look forward to next week when we candle them, and I'm hoping you guys will as well, and let's just all fingers crossed that they're full and we'll get some nice little hybrids out of the pair. So as I said at the beginning of this video, we'll also do an update on the flights, and this is where we've got the youngsters. Now we've got 3 flights just with youngsters in at the moment. This end one is free at the moment, nothing in there. And we've got a few adult birds in there, so we'll go and check out each flight. We're going to see how those guys are getting on, and overall I have no complaints. They're getting on really well, and I'll talk to you a bit about what I'm doing with them. So flight 1 is home to our canaries. We've got our 5 young canary chicks in here. We've got 3 fives. We've got a yellow, a yellow clear, a buff-ticked, and I believe it's a yellow cinnamon bird, and then we've got our 2 yellow dimorphics as well. I believe both cockbirds. I've definitely seen one singing. Those guys are doing well. Regular baths, that's pretty much every day. Fresh bath water. They're enjoying that. They're on a diet of egg food and hard seed, and they're getting on really well on that. So the idea is that we're just going to get some multivitamins into them, leave them to molt out in here, and then from there we'll probably have a bit of a move about as the season progresses, should we need to, but they're getting on really well. Flight 2 is home to the 6-pied Greenfinch chicks we've bred off of the pair in cage 8 in the other bird room. We've actually got 5 pieds in here and 1 normal bird. The normal bird being on the furthest right now, but the rest are pieds. They're not sort of heavily pied. They are darker pied birds with a few signs of variegation. We've got a bird in the middle, for example, has a few clear tail feathers. We've got, most of them have got pied flights, and there's actually a youngster in there which has got a cap as well, which is quite nice. A bit of something different. Actually, kind of looks like a lizard canary, but these guys are getting on well. We're giving them baycocks every 2 weeks at the moment, so I'm giving them 4 days of baycocks every 2 weeks, and the concentration of that is 3 or 2.5 to 3 mil per litre, because the young greenfinch are prone to going light, so we don't want to, we don't want to be risking it and losing any youngsters. Flight 3 contains our best normal Greenfinch chicks. This is from our normal pair. We've got the Evans and Ponting cockbird to the Paul Meek hen. They are doing really well, and I must say that the quality already showing through these guys is remarkable, especially when I compare them to the pieds. They're much bigger birds, it just in stature. They're much cobbier, and the colour is second to none. I mean, there's some lovely birds in here. Notably, the bird furthest to the left has got some nice coloration on it. You can see that we've actually got, we can tell the sex of these youngsters quite easily. So I believe in here we have a definite cock on the left now. There's another cockbird which is centre, now furthest right, and I believe there's 3 hens. So those guys are doing well. It's quite nice to see the quality already showing through, and I'm hoping that they'll make some nice exhibition birds and definite birds for future breeding. So the 4th flight along just has our spare cockbirds in at the moment. We've got 2 Norwich cocks in here. On the left is the normal variegated bird who failed to fill eggs twice, so that's why he's in here. We're trying to get him fit. On the right now is the Redpoll Mule cock. He is a 3-year-old bird, I believe, and last year he did sort of fill some eggs actually with a crossbill hen, which is interesting. He paired to her in a mixed flight, and anyway, the eggs turned out to be growing, so they were full and there was no other crossbill in there, and I believe he filled them actually, but I don't know. So I would like to run him maybe with a Canary hen later this year, just to see if he does fill any eggs. And then actually on the left now we have a nice green lightly variegated cockbird now on the right. And I am planning on, got a little bit of an idea with that cockbird, is that I don't think he's a pure Norwich, to be honest, but I didn't buy them as pure Norwich. I just bought them for the size generally, for any possible muling attempts. And this green cockbird, I would actually like to run it with maybe a 5 hen, just to get some youngsters out of him. We'll get some darker birds in the stud as well, just for the development of a nice line of feeders. I'm sort of thinking we'll go 2 sort of lines of feeders we'll keep separate. We'll go probably a 5 new colour and Norwich mix, to give us some larger canaries as feeders for greenfinches, bullfinches, and the larger varieties of finch. And then we'll go maybe a smaller line of Razzers and Irish for next year, which will cover us really for Redpolls, Goldfinches and Siskins is the idea. So I would need to source some Irish or some Razzers, or some small variety canaries, which will be ideal feeders for the smaller finches. But that's these cockbirds, trying to get them fit. We've got them on fertility vitamins and hopefully it works. So that does bring us to the end of episode 10 of Breeding British Birds. So I hope you've enjoyed it and found some useful tips in this video. And just to see how I'm getting on with the birds so far, with it being just creeping into mid-June, really is prime time now for the natives. And I think from what I've heard from a lot of people's past experience, now is the time when most of the success comes with the mule and hybrid pairs. June, July is pretty much prime time for those birds. So we'll see how I get on with them, and let's keep us fingers crossed and hope everything goes well. Next week we've got a few different things planned, so I'm going to be doing a shorter video next week is the plan. Not too sure what I'm covering, but it'll be something important and useful, so I hope you've found this useful and you've enjoyed it, and you'll hopefully find that useful. And then Breeding Mistress Birds episode 11, well, we've got some more young birds due out this weekend, so there'll be new arrivals next week, hopefully, and hopefully eggs, which we can check a full, maybe even some hybrid pair eggs as well. So anyway, if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please leave us a like and hit the subscribe down below so you can follow along with all of my new content. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.